Perfect. I see it. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Ask Podcast with me, Adrea Peters, and
And hello, me, Karen Weaver. Hi,
uh,
guys.
hi. How are you?
I'm pretty good, even though half my hair's cut off today. Yeah.
I know, and for some reason, I can't I think in here we're opposite. It's like it reverses us. So I think I'm touching here. Like I actually think I'm touching the other side of my head.
It's mirror image, isn't it? That's why
Yes.
it's
I know
ultra
that if
real.
you're listening to the audio, that means nothing to you, but it's freaking me out a little bit. But it's wonderful. I love that we can broadcast with our beautiful background, etc. So,
Yeah.
as always here on the podcast, Karen has no idea what I'm about to toss her way, and um, she's scared, excited. That's the look she
I'm
has.
speechless.
Oh gosh, it won't be too bad. But it was really interesting this week. I was listening to a podcast myself because the name of the podcast, it was oh, what's the name of that show? Oh gosh, it's escaping me, but it'll come to me. I should have written that down. That would have been a
Begin with pitch.
good thing to, yeah, exactly. So the title of their show was Question Traps, which I thought was really interesting. And it was the podcast was This American Life. That was the podcast. And
Yes.
and it's a wonderful storytelling podcast. I just love it. I mean, anywho, so what I had not heard about was that people go on dates and they have these questions that are canned questions that give them the answers that they're expecting. So, for instance, one of the questions that is really common is, what do you think about Beyonce?
Oh, is that my question?
No. I'm not going to trap you, but I really like the notion of a trap because I do have a question trap that will be your
Yes.
question. And it's really about what they're trying to find out is, so this is women asking men,
Yes, yes,
obviously, and they want to know if, strong women or strong Black women, if that's something that people
yes.
are, how that's the test, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, and then of course toward the end of it, they said that people have gotten used to that question. Like the guys have prepped each other. So now when people, they say, I don't know how to answer that, right? It's like, they know it's a trap. So that one's been spoiled. But there was another interesting question so then they went a little bit further than the Beyonce question. And one of the questions, and this is your question, but this isn't a trap, but I did really like this question. Do you believe in ghosts?
Ooh, oh, and yes, but I block them out. I believe that we have the ability to close that door and not see. You can feel it. You can't not feel it, but I can't see it because I choose not to. Whereas my sister Emma, she's seen things all the time and couldn't switch it off, which is fascinating.
It is.
Wow, that's a really interesting question. My mind's going.
Yeah. And it's, for me, of course, it's funny. I don't think of things as ghosts, right? I think of things as energy, right? So, but I've awakened from dreams before from people that have passed. This one in particular that really freaked me out. A good friend of mine, John, died young, 30 years old. And he was this wild guy, had such a crush on him. I never told them, but I did. And he was into motorcycles, but like what people call crotch rockets here in America. It's like the speedy vroom, vroom, and they do like tricks in them, and oh, that caused Sky to bark. Sorry if you can hear that. And so he wore all this elaborate leather gear. So it was like purple and red, and he was a very colorful guy. And so I woke up from a dream. I wasn't dreaming about him, but I woke up from a dream, and his apparition, or him or whatever, was standing at the end of my bed watching me sleep. But he was dead. He was long gone. So it was the wildest thing. And now, of course, Sky is,
What did you do? Did you
I
freak out?
it really freaked me out. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually found it after I sat there for a minute. I found it incredibly calming. And it was a time when I was really mourning him, and I had just started writing through it. Yeah. And so uh, it's one of my favorite things that's happened to me, right? And I've had other where I've had other sorts of things. We won't go into it, but it's not even a belief in ghosts, right? I just believe that people don't go very far. Even once they ditch their body, I just don't think they go that far. And also, they can be anywhere all at once, which was I found very comforting when it came to like my dad. And I set up all these chairs in my house so my dad could read in different spots in the house.
That is just so beautiful. And the thing is that we don't go very far. We're just energy. We leave our vessel, isn't it? And like
Yeah.
quantum, becoming truth sky is all about that and giving perspective on that. But so many people are just so present in their bodies that whenever death happens, you know, it's one of those really, the grief and all of these things. I'm very blessed. I haven't experienced much death in my life, which I'll have to experience as an adult and process. And you've experienced a lot of that, so I can imagine the comfort in seeing someone and witnessing that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just an interesting question. I wonder what people like. It's such a good question, I think, because it really does. If you absolutely don't believe in it, right? You don't think, and then I would, if somebody said, no, I absolutely do not believe in ghosts, then I would think, so do you believe in, what do you believe in? Like, what do you think happens when someone dies? Do you think that's it's just over and they're just bones in the ground type of
Some
deal?
people don't want to think about it,
I
Adria.
know. I
That's what
know.
I find. And
Yes.
it keeps coming up recently. It is about a lot of things on the internet, and I don't know why it's coming to me right now, but is that we are just in a vessel. We're spiritual beings here to live a physical experience. And there's so many other dimensions out there and realms, and your energy goes back to source, and then you choose your next adventure and all of that type of stuff. I love all of that kind
Yeah.
of thinking to
It's
go with
interesting.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we both listen to Elizabeth Peru. We just love her. And yeah, and she talks about like right now that this is the month of body, focus on the body. And she said in this overview I was listening to this morning, feels like 4 days have gone by today.
Yes.
And she was saying that the body is the last thing to catch up. The
Yes.
body is the very last thing to catch up, which is really interesting. Because I always say like my body is my barometer, so that
Mm.
if I, it always gives me the signal. So I think, shit, sorry. Well, I guess we can cuss. It doesn't matter. This is, this is
Go for it.
I think, um, how far ahead is my soul? Like, how far ahead is everything else? Because
Absolutely. I heard recently about like if cancer is going to show up in your body, it check back to what trauma happened 2 years beforehand.
oh, isn't that
and
interesting?
and I was like, wow, that just makes you more mindful of things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then
I was
there's
just working with an, oh, sorry. I was just working with an author who is connected her cancer to her trauma, and letting go of her trauma was, yeah, she's writing a book about it. Yeah,
yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
those journeys are powerful, and those
Mm.
realizations are powerful, and the healing that happens,
Yeah.
is so powerful. And I think if people just allow themselves to go there, just going back to the question, which is, do you believe in ghosts? And our belief systems have a big part to play in it. Like I've come from Ireland, there's lots of ghost stories.
Absolutely. Yes.
And some
Everywhere.
that
Yeah.
are made more colorful than they need to be. And, but energies, no matter whether they're in physical form or in ghostly form, you don't want to have negative energies around anyway. So you just want to do the same with a ghostly energy as with a physical energy. When there's a negative energy, shut it out. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And I think that's part of it, right? That ghosts, it's sometimes for me, like, because I'm so this is an area I explore a lot, right? I write about death a lot. I write about life a lot, right? And the connection between the two.
Yes.
And that death has change, right? I think as humans, we live many, many deaths, and that, it's a storytelling device, ghosts, because you're always, who's the ghost that you're trying to show that you're better, like the ghosts that we have of our lifetime. When I teach storytelling, it's always your ghost, and all storyteller, all writing teachers and screenwriters, and everybody is always looking back to who's your ghost, and that
Yes.
you're always trying to, get rid of your ghosts. And so they're these internal as well. So, and I do believe in them, right? Like a really good example that I always use with writers when I'm teaching is, I used to believe that as a woman, I needed to be married in order to have a house. And
Mhm.
I had the belief that that was not something I could do on my own. And it really haunted me.
Mhm.
It was just a passed down belief because of generational, stereotypes and all sorts
Mhm.
of stuff. And it wasn't until I had no choice but to get a house.
Yeah.
That's where I always say, like, dreams come true when there's necessity merging
Yeah.
with imagination, right? So that I had two big dogs, couldn't really find anywhere to rent, and I was like, I think I have to get a house, and I wasn't with anyone.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until later that it was this dumb, then of course I built a beautiful dream house on a mountaintop in the most beautiful place on the world. Like it
Come on.
all, once I realized this ghost is, I'm letting my life be run by this ghost.
Mhm.
Um, and I would, we won't get into my sordid love life at this point.
That's for another show. That's
That's a
another
different
question.
that's a different episode. Um, but it was really interesting, the power of the ghosts that we have. So it's a different kind of perspective on ghosts. I didn't actually mean for this question to go on this long, but it's a really interesting
We're on
question.
track. And the thing is, whenever it taps into our belief systems, that's when it can either stick, have us stuck somewhere.
Yeah,
These ghosts of fear, I suppose, that haunt all of us
right.
and come from our belief systems, I
Yeah.
suppose, and what we choose to believe. And your story is a prime example of must do's a great master, and how we get creative and how we get innovative and make things happen when they have to be done. And especially as women, I believe we do that really well. And men do it too. But,
Yeah.
it's beautiful to see that in this day and age, there's freedom to do that. We're very blessed, I believe, totally in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And ghosts are often from a trauma, and they might not even be your trauma, right? Like sometimes the ghost is that a sibling died or a parent died, and that's a ghost that that person has to live with and really make friends with, right? Instead of having it hold us back and hold us back and hold us back. It's interesting that that same author who's doing her book on her cancer journey and the trauma of her life, she wanted her subtitle to be like, deal with your shit or it'll kill you. Right. Like
Oh,
that's but that's really what it is, right? Deal with it. So
don't
it's
suppress it. That's the
don't
thing. Is
suppress it. Don't
yeah,
suppress it. Talk about it.
it'll just
Which
eat
is,
away inside you, isn't it?
yes. So that actually worked out because it's a good segue to what the trap question that I brought forth for us to talk about
Yes.
is it's Mental Health Month. It's a topic near and dear to both of our hearts, and something that's very important. Mental health is your wealth, and your
Absolutely.
mental health drives your physical health as well. And it's a topic I take very, very seriously. And so there's always these times. It happened recently in a work situation for me, and I was about to ask the question, should I be concerned? And I didn't ask it because it felt loaded to me. It felt like I was accusing them of something.
Yeah.
Like, right? And it's also, and so it's, the question is really, how do we ask are you okay without putting somebody in a defensive posture?
Oh, well, I see it nice and rosy clear there. And I think that if you ask the question, am I concerned? That's going to come with resistance. Or should I be concerned? That's going to come with resistance. But also for you, feeling the need to ask that question, yes. You don't even have to ask it. It's a red flag.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, exactly.
But
However, like
totally,
sometimes you
are
can
you
like,
okay? Are
yeah,
you okay is the question to
yeah,
ask?
I
You
think
know?
so. I think are you okay is an okay question.
Yes.
It's it's still, me, I'm a boss, right? I'm a boss in my day job, and that can also cause people to feel defensive as well. Like, what do you mean? Of course I'm okay. Like you never know. It's such a funny thing. Like it's easy for me to, like, I would say to you, are you all right? Like what's going on? Right. That would be, and you would tell me, right?
Yeah.
So it's more about where you're observing it, especially in this day and age where people have been bullied a lot, and people have been shamed, and people have ghosts active in their in their defense systems, and being able to reach out in a way that doesn't cause, to your
But I
point.
think the actual asking of the question in that scenario, you're not going to get the instant reaction that you want, but there will be, you're actually offering them the, to go inside, and, and take a moment and go, well, she asked that for a reason, and then go away and do the work. So it's kind of like an after the fact. So it will set a ball in motion. Maybe some insightful exploration can happen for them, and like
Yeah,
even as a boss, can you imagine if someone, said to you, "Are you okay?" Initially you would
they
go,
do,
"Excuse
which
me,
is
what are you
very
asking? Am I okay
really
for?"
interesting, because they do, because I do ask them. I don't
Yes.
I do say, are you all right? I'm checking in. Here's the question I ask to my teams all the time: is anyone freaking out? Like, is anyone freaking out? And I can tell immediately in their body language,
Mhm.
because either they'll laugh, or if they look down, I know they're freaking out.
Yeah.
If they just kind of relax in their chair, they know that it's not all that serious. I always have to remind everybody, hey, it's not, this is, it's not all that serious. It's
Yeah.
okay. We'll get to a solution. But I think that sometimes there's something, no, a lot of times there's something deeper going on to have me even feel like I need to ask somebody, are you okay?
You
And
tap into people's energies though, don't you? And
yeah,
I
yeah,
do as well. And it may not be with what you're dealing with on the having the conversation about or actioning. It may be something that you're connecting with behind the scenes. And have you ever asked someone if they're okay and they bust out crying?
oh
I
yeah,
have,
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's a
And that's
great.
like a release.
It's
It's
a
not a bad
release.
thing.
It's
It's a
great.
release.
It's absolutely great.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll just say, if I know somebody's not okay, I'll say, everything's going to be okay, everybody. Something along those lines. And if anybody needs to talk, let me know, I'm here.
Yeah.
But I really think there is something really powerful in asking somebody if they're okay versus putting that spin on, should I be concerned, or I'm concerned about blah, blah, blah. I think it's better to come from that open
More
posture.
caring. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. People will come at you with what's wrong with you. You're acting
Mhm.
weird. It's like you have to pause for a second and think about,
Yeah.
you have no idea what's going on for people.
Mhm.
No, we have no idea what's going on for people. And even people we know really well. That's why,
Mhm.
you know, our good group of girlfriends always are just like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And we know, like, I want to hear everything that's going on, good, bad, ugly, flaws, freaking outs, all of it. And
Exactly, because then, and we know that what people are going through right now in the world, we know that there's everyone's dealing with so much. Some people are not dealing with it so well. Other people are putting on the mask and getting on with things, but it's a time to deal with it, not to hide away from it. It's a time to check out for a day and just blur and just do something that fills your cup, or to look at it and see, give it another, come at it with a different perspective, a solution focused perspective that you can then deal with it and release it. It's never going to be comfortable. Something that's, that pulls at you, something that is a lesson for you in your lifetime. But it is important to deal with it and to release it. And it keeps coming back to your health. Your body's your temple. And no matter how you can put up, how you feed it and all, and how you, if you walk it, if you exercise it, all of that's important. But also how you deal with the emotional things that rise up within you. Do you suppress them? If it's trauma, quite often I feel with trauma, whenever trauma happens, we go into survival mode to get through it, but it's going to come back up again, so that you have an opportunity to release it from your body, because you don't want to keep it there for a lifetime, because it won't give you a long lifetime. That's the thing.
You will have to deal with it. You will have to. And if you read Truett Sky, you can deal with it now, or you can deal with it. Like, you still have to deal with it. And it's so freeing. I mean, I used to be somebody that I kept everything to myself. I just, I was the person everybody came to, and I just kept it to myself, and la, 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 until I got really trusted group of girlfriends, really, and guy friends in there, that I could just say, no, I'm actually not okay. I'm not okay. And I was taught by other women and men in my life to say, Adrea, stop saying it's okay. It's actually not okay. Like, that was very bad, whatever XYZ had happened. Like, it's okay to say it was really bad.
My thing is, I say, all good, all good.
Yes, you do. Yes, you
whenever
do.
some of my family hears me go all good, they go, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's true.
I watched something recently that I think our viewers will like the perspective of, and it was this interview that Oprah was doing with this guy. I can't remember his name, but it was a really good interview, and something he said in the moment was really important. So there was an audience there, and this woman was asking a question. She started to cry, and she said, "I'm sorry, I hadn't planned to cry." And he says, "No, it's okay. Please cry. You've got to understand that when grief happens, no matter what form it comes to you in, you can go and distract yourself from it all you like. I've done that. I went and drank myself silly. I went and distracted myself with work. I've done this, I've done that. And grief just waited for me to finish. It doesn't go anywhere. You got to feel
so good. It's so good. So we can wrap it up for this episode. I think it's also a good question to ask yourself, am I okay? Which is a very powerful question to ask yourself. And you might break down in tears. I certainly have from asking myself, am I okay? But am I okay? Am I okay? Yeah, maybe not.
Check in with yourself and others, guys, because it's important. It really is.
Yes. So thank you so much for listening. This is another episode of the Ask Podcast.
See you next time, guys.
Thank you. Hey, I have a question for you.
A question.